Well, hey, everybody, and welcome to The Debrief, a weekly Q&A show from Sandals Church. I'm your host, Justin Pardee, hanging out here, of course, with the PMB, Pastor Matt Brown, and we've got two guests for what is going to be, I believe, the most greatest episode of this entire series on the Enneagram. We have Pastor Dan Zambardi, Christina Crowley, hanging out here with us. Welcome to the show.
Hello, hello.
Thanks for having us. And do we get trophies at the end of this, by the way? Because that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah. We've got some on Pastor Matt's shelf. We will pull off for you guys. So today we're going to be talking about type 3, the achiever here on the Enneagram. And you guys are both type 3s. Welcome to us. Pastor Matt, from this last weekend's message, you've identified you're a type 3.
Yeah, I'm all 3.
I too am a 3. So we've got 4 3s at the table. This episode has wings.
Yes, this will be the most dishonest episode in the history of the debrief.
That's right. You know, there's a whole new section that Stephanie told me yesterday as she was preparing for the show. All these people wrote in and they said, there's so many questions about how do I actually be married to a 3?
Yeah.
And I was like, if I had any feelings, that would hurt them. But
yeah,
we're okay. Pastor Dan, Christina, can you guys introduce yourselves? Welcome to the show.
Sure. Yeah.
Thank you.
Christina, you're a friend of the show. Everyone knows you and loves you.
This is my second time here.
Yes,
Thank you very
back.
much. My name is Christina Crowley, and I am one of our worship leads here at Sandals Church. And I also have the privilege of overseeing our Rogo School of Worship with some of our other worship leaders. So that's what I do here at Sandals Church.
Right on.
Dan Zambardi. I'm the executive pastor here at Sandals Church, and I have the privilege to support and serve our staff and Pastor Matt Brown.
His nickname is the Big Fish. That's what I call him.
I also feel like the way that you described your role here on Sandals Church is the 3est way of supporting and serving the staff. You're basically everyone's boss except for Pastor Matt and
the Lord Jesus.
Well, and the Lord Jesus. That he's a given here at Sandals Church.
Yeah,
but that's an excellent way of saving it. Supporting and serving. So that is awesome. Okay, Pastor Matt, we have a couple of Enneagram-specific questions for you before we jump into Style 3 questions. Last week, you started talking a little bit about wings and how they impact your style. Can you just tell us a little bit more about that? We had a couple people write in and say, what's this wing thing you've been mentioning?
Yeah, so we don't, at Sandals Church, we don't emphasize the wings nearly as much as a lot of the Enneagram tools, resources, and kind of experts online. And because I think that the wing oftentimes is overblown. And so what I would pay attention to on the test that we give is your highest scores. So instead of paying attention to the wing, look at the highest influences in your life. So let's say you have 3 styles that are over 90. That's way more important in who you are rather than say, let's say Christina's a 99.3 and a 5.2. Okay, what that means is there's very little 2 in her life. So 2 has very, very little influence on her. So I don't think it's helpful for her to run around saying, I'm a 3-wing 2. Because that's not going to help me understand her. What's going to help me understand her is what scores in your life are over 90? Okay, so you have 1 that's over 90. Are there any that are over 80? And that's what I think sets the Sandals Church test apart, because I think that we're looking at the infinite possibilities of who you are, and no one is exactly like you. That's why even though I say I'm a 3, I'm a dominant 3, but there's also some 7 and some 8. I have a lot of 7 and 8 in who I am, and some 4, which I think that's what you are as well. So I have some 4, which means I'm super, super motivated to be successful and then depressed because I'm not. So that's how that works out in my life. So that's what I would say is the wing. And here's what I would say is the beauty of the Enneagram is it starts off as this really, really mild personality assessment that dives into your core motivation of your personality. And then I think there's a lot of ones who've taken over the Enneagram and they want to make exactly certain who you are. And they've turned it into a science, which I think is really, really a sin against what the Enneagram is. The Enneagram is the first step into being real with yourself. And here's the truth is, we're all going to have all of the 9 personalities in us, and we need to look to those. And for example, you said you joked, what was your 2 score?
It was low, maybe 10.
Okay, so 10. So what I would say to Chris...
That's honestly more than 10 times greater than mine.
Yeah, so what I would say to both of you is that's an area of your life where you need to look to raise that score because, we serve a servant. So we need to come alongside that and say, how do I... create opportunities in my life where I can find a way to love people through service. And so those super, super low scores, we need to look at, as well as the high scores. We need to look at our healthy scores and our unhealthy scores. So that's what I say. So the wing is, according to the internet and the experts, it is a kind of the creamer in your coffee. So your coffee is your dominant style and your wing is your creamer. And so the way that you would look at that is what is the score? So for Christina, she said her 2 is a 10. She has very little creamer in her coffee. Mm-hmm. So what that means is the 2 really doesn't affect her at all. And what I would say to her, if I was coaching her in the Enneagram, is I would say, let's not even look at the 2 because that's just not going to help us understand who you are at all. But the 2 is higher than your 4 score?
No, my 4 is higher.
Oh, so you're a 3-wing 4.
I'm a 3-wing 4.
Oh, okay. So that would be interesting. What's your 4 score?
40 or 50.
Okay, so even that's a lower score.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even a medium score. But it does play a role in her. It means, she can kind of disappear in her feelings. It means that she can get depressed. She can get sad. She can get discouraged that maybe she's not as unique as somebody else. And so the 3-wing 4 wants to be successful and unique. Mm-hmm. So not only do we want to achieve, but we want there to be no one like us, which, there is no one like you. And we'll get into that this week as we tackle the personality of Saul, which a lot of 4s aren't going to like that. But he is beautiful and he is amazing and he was chosen by God. Mm-hmm. Right? So we often think of Saul as the collapse of this story, but that's what happens to the 4 when they become overwhelmed with, I'm not the most special. Yeah. And that's what happens to Saul as he compares himself with David. Right. And that's just that's the death spiral for the 4. So that's what I would say is your wing is just your wing. Pay attention to your score. And we look at it like watercolors. They all kind of blend together, mm-hmm. and that kind of makes up who you are. And the other thing that I've noticed is we can gravitate to certain numbers in certain situations. Like, for example, like when I'm afraid or I feel in fear for my family, I don't gravitate to the 6. I'm all 8. I am all power. I'm going to kill, right? I'm going to destroy. And so I turn into the Hulk. He's my favorite comic character. So I turn into the Hulk in that number. And so very few people get to experience the 8 in me, but it comes when I'm afraid or I'm worried and I need to be protector. So, but I need to be aware of that because the 8 is scary. And so I need to not be that way, especially raising girls. I don't know how many times I've yelled. I'm not yelling. so I need to back that off. I also have the 7. My wife's a 6. My 7 makes my wife afraid. So that's always interesting. We'll go to a party and she'll say, "Don't be funny, Matt, tonight." So, okay, thanks.
That's great.
Oh yeah. Don't be you. Be you, but not all you.
Tone down the you.
Yeah.
Tone it down.
And some of that is because my humor and my playfulness, you've experienced it. I can tease, big fish.
Sure.
I make fun of people I love, and that doesn't always work out well. So my wife's helped me see that I need to, especially as my influence has grown, I got to be really, really careful with how I tease because people will take it to heart when I'm just being playful, and I can be hurtful. And so my wife's helped me with that. So I don't want to be overly critical of that because she definitely was seeing some truth there. All right.
Well, there you go. There's some information about the wings. Hopefully that helps you. I like the illustration of the watercolor, and I was thinking about it too. Like even the colors of the rainbow, the Roy G. Biv, right? You can be bright orange, or you can have a little bit of yellow, or you can have a little bit of red in you. Yeah. And that makes you a different color. You special butterfly. So as we get ready to jump into talking about the 3, Pastor Matt, can you talk to us a little bit about some of the things that are core for us to know about the 3 before we unpack how it impacts Pastor Dan and Christina?
So the 3, think really 3 words. Think achievement. So we talked about that. Success and image. Mm-hmm. Those are the 3 words that really, really resonate to the 3. So if those things are important to you, even if the 3 doesn't show up in your test, maybe you didn't take it accurately. If those 3 things are super important to you, so achievement, success, and image. So image often is the performer aspect of the personality. So I want to be on stage. I want to be an actor. I want to be a model. I want to do something where I get applause. Mm-hmm. So success is more the business mindset, and that's where you got to be really, really careful. So that's the person that's going to make it on Wall Street. They're going to make it in real estate. They're going to do that. Achievement is more academic. So I'm going to be magna cum laude, summa cum laude. I'm going to graduate top of my class. I'm going to be a doctor. I'm going to be this or that. And so that's why we run into doctors who are not good at being doctors because they just wanted to achieve. Mm-hmm. Or you get a real estate agent that's terrible at real estate because they just want to make money, right? So the drive is not So a 2 would probably be a much better real estate agent than a 3 because the 2 actually wants to meet your needs and take care of you, whereas a 3 just wants to make the money so that they can climb the list and be number 1 in Remax or whatever it is. So success, achievement, and image. So those are really the 3
Talk
things.
about image. You didn't unpack that one right now as much as you did.
So image is, Christine and I were talking about this before the show from an early age, and even Dan, who's had some bizarre fashion statements over the years.
I thought you were going to say photos on Facebook.
We should just do a collage of Daniel over the years, man. It's just...
or not. Either way. We could do it either way.
So when Elton John was singing that song, it looks like Daniel. That's who it was. Man, just had some funky clothes over the years. And Dan was good looking, man. I mean, it was just beautiful.
Yeah, I think it was the mullet with the perm in the back.
Yes.
I think that was the hottest look I had.
I think it was the fishnet tank top that did it for me the most.
Pink fishnet, cotton blue blazer, right? White leather dress shoes.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I like.
I've never had that thought. What the world needs to see is my nipples. Like I've never thought that in an outfit my nipples will make this outfit just.
Or in high school, my emerging chest hair. That's the other thing with the fishnet.
See, I wanted chest hair in high school.
Well. Yeah, I had it.
Yeah,
as an Italian, I had
it. So image. So I'm gonna let Christina talk a little bit about this, but I remember, like my brother and I are radically different. But my parents could have dressed my brother in a brown bag to school. He did not care. It did not matter to him. I hated the clothes I had to wear. It bothered me. I had a paper route when I was 12 years old, so I could buy. I remember it was a Union Bay jacket in the 80s, and they used to sell them at Mervyn's, and they were $50, right? Nobody knows what Mervyn's is.
R.I.P. Rest in peace, baby.
So, I wanted Levi jeans. I wanted a Levi jacket, and those things mattered to me. That little red tag on your butt mattered to me.
Yeah.
I wanted real Vans. What were the fake Vans? Airwalks?
There's Airwalk was a thing. Yeah, but they were cool when I was.
By your age, they were cool. At my age, it means not Vans. That's what they meant. And so I wanted to dress the part because for the 3, how I'm wrapped is who I am. And so, because again, right at the core, what I'm trying to cover is my shame. So I am not good enough to dress in Kmart clothes. That was the really lame place to shop when I was a kid, was Kmart, the blue light special. Yeah. So I just literally hated my clothes, and the 80s was right when sneakers started, tennis shoes started to like $100. I mean, that was the first time where they just had these ridiculous price tags, Air Jordans. And so I just was so wrapped up in, and what it comes from is I'm afraid that people won't like me unless I dress this way, or people won't see me or appreciate me. And for me and the 3, being cool is everything. I have to be cool, which I know for Dan and I, we have to hear Christina's story, got us in a lot of trouble academically. And so because we wanted to be the class clown, and that's that image or the performer, I'm going to make everybody laugh. Well, what we're doing is we're making everybody dumb because we can't pay attention to the teacher, which also for us. And then I think we spend a lot of time in detention.
Ooh, too much time. Yeah.
So talk about image in your life.
Yeah, I resonate with everything that you just said. I don't remember a time growing up where that last look in the mirror before I walked out the front door was there. It just... the words that are coming to my mind too is like, you've got to be it before you achieve it.
Yeah.
And so there was that whole like dress the part, look the part. I think I craved early on the need to be seen. I was complimented a lot. I remember compliments as a little girl as I would get older. And so I think it started to create this this craving that I didn't even know was happening. And so there was just kind of this idea too of like fake it till you make it as I was growing up. And so you do, as long as I look okay, then I don't have to deal with what is maybe going on behind the scenes or inside. And, and I really put a high value, not so much on name brands, but I think how I presented myself. Because I saw there was success when you presented yourself well. It was acknowledged. And so it just kind of fed the beast.
Yeah. How about you?
Yeah, I'm thinking about growing up and the men in my family that I look to, looking back now, they're all very image conscious and very image oriented. Thinking back to when I was a kid and my parents were divorced, and this bit of a sad story, but dad's not paying child support because he's struggling, yet he's driving the brand new Trans Am. Mm-hmm. See Smokey and the Bandit from the 70s? Yeah. So the T-top.
That was a beautiful car.
Oh, beautiful car. And my dad had one, but yet he was broke. So it was about the image for him. And I didn't understand that up until recently, that a lot of the men in my life were very image conscious. And I think some of my image awareness and being focused on image came from seeing the men in my life, that being a priority and a focus.
Yeah. So when Tammy and I got married, we bought a house in Riverside. Our house payment, this is taxes, insurance, everything, the whole bang, $612 a month.
Wow.
What do you think my car payment was?
Yeah, $613.
It was $685.
Yeah. Wow.
Our car payment was more, than our house payment. And I struggled deeply with cars and wanting them to, portray something. And so I think part of the three for me, I was very small growing up. When I was a kid, when you were on sports teams, the smallest number was always 2. I don't know why that was. It didn't start with 0 or 1. I was number 2 in every sport. And my mom would have to sew the uniforms smaller to fit me. I mean, I just literally was small. And so I'm the largest man in my family on either side.
Wow.
This is it. This is the pinnacle of size.
He's a big guy.
So I'm praying for my son that he gets a little of his mother's grandfather. He's 6'5". I'm like, well, we're hoping there's a little pence in you, buddy, because the Browns, I mean, we're like little Irishmen. Yeah. I mean, that's what we are, dude.
Small but mighty.
We're at the end of the rainbow, man. But there's not a lot of height in our family, and so I mean, my uncles are little, like 5'6", 5'7". Wow. You know, my grandpa's the little old man, and I just tower over them. Yeah. So, man, I just felt so small, and so I wanted to dress big. I wanted to look big. I remember in high school buying larges. What was I doing?
Yeah.
A large shirt. Well, it looked like a dress, but I look back at me and how I was dressed, and some of that was style, early 90s, but I was swimming in my shirts, and it was hard for me to come to reality that I'm a medium. Yeah. I had to, saying that was hard because I'm a 3. I'm not a large. Yeah. I'm a medium. Yeah. I mean, that was painful for a 3. I want to be extra large. Yeah. I want to be a man.
I think for me, thinking about image, I think I was trying to get attention as I was growing up. And a lot of that was just based on not getting attention when I was young at home. And so I was seeking attention by presenting a certain image. And so I can look back now and just connect those dots, that my image, the desire for presenting a certain image, people would like me for that image. They would give me attention because I was starving for attention as a kid at home.
Yeah. That's one of the things I really love about the Enneagram is it goes so much beyond this is your number, these are the tools that you use, but they really encourage you to get in touch with your story and be curious about the things that have happened in your life, your family of origin, places where you adapt. I think the 3 is very adaptable because we got to figure out how we can be successful and achieve in the environments that we're in. And where does that then come from? So I just love that the Enneagram doesn't just kind of label you as this number, but the process of what we're doing even here with the self-discovery series and how you're leading us is to understand where those things come from and the value that we attach to them so we can move forward in a healthy way and also be real about that broken part in us.
Well, and let me say this, is I don't think we became 3s. I think God made us 3s. What we've become is adaptive, unhealthy 3s. And that's what we want to change. We don't want to change the beauty that's in us, right? Like my drive, my desire to grow the kingdom and see people saved and get excited about 519 people, that's not wrong. Right. What I need to change is my motivation. Yep. So, look what I did, that's sinful. Look what God's doing, that's beautiful. And so look what God's doing through us and look what God can do, right? The 3 sees hope. There's something different. We can do a different church. We can build a church that's meant to be real. Yeah. We don't have to be fake. Right. We don't have to do that. We can talk about our struggles. And so whatever number you are, don't be ashamed of that number. Yeah. Embrace it and know that God's designed you that way and you reflect some of his beauty and he wants to heal, your brokenness. So
I'm like a really bad 3. I have a hard time looking at the other numbers and thinking that there's something beautiful about them. Like I've told Lindy, like, listen, if we're going to raise our kids, if they're going to have an issue, like a deep driving motivation and need, I would far prefer it be the need to succeed than anything else. They're going to have issues, but at least they'll be successful and can afford counseling.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you, in a household of no threes other than myself, it's really, really hard. I have to constantly place my expectations in reality and embrace them where they are, because there's nobody yet in our house that wants to change the world, conquer the world. That's just not where they are, and I've had to relax with that and been deeply frustrated. I remember a couple years ago, one of my daughters literally at the state championships in the state of California was in third place until the finish line, and they actually third, fourth, fifth crashed and crossed the finish line in a cloud of dust. To this day, I don't know who won. I don't think the state of California knows who won, but they declared Kennedy in fourth or fifth place. I can't remember. But in the largest state in the union, she got fifth in the state. And I was like, oh man, you're going to go to the Olympics. And she just was like, quit. And that was it. So that was really, really hard for me, because I was like, you have an opportunity to be great. And she's like, yeah, but I don't like it. So, and she's my 4.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to be on a mountain bike. She wants to be unique and in a flower and a field. And so I've had to deal with that, but and appreciate the beauty of the numbers of my family. And I do appreciate that, because they all tell me how they feel, that nobody's lying to me, which is rough sometimes. They're telling me exactly what's going on and in their life. But especially if you're a 3 as a parent, you have to make sure that you don't overwhelm your kids, because your drive is not their drive. And oftentimes, I think the sin of every parent is recreating their image. And your kids aren't created in your image. They're created in God's image. And so you need to allow them to be who God's created them to be. And that's what I've said to my kids. I want you to be whoever God's created you to be, and I want to help steward that. Now, I want them to be the best they can be. So the best 4, the best 8, 9, the best. I just found out my son is a 5'4". So and always when I don't know, it'll be interesting when we interview the 5s. Whenever I can't read somebody, it's always a 5, because that's just the 5. You don't know.
Yeah.
So
my unhealthy 3 came out. I was at my son's soccer game on Saturday. It was the second game of the season. And halfway through the game, I'm thinking, we need to pull him. We need to pull him. We need to end the season. The second game of the season's almost over, and he hasn't scored a goal yet.
Oh, yeah.
We need to end this thing.
Yeah.
He's done. And I'm thinking, when I was 7, I had like 10 goals by this. It's like unhealthy 3 on display for everyone right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 3s can be really, really... The 2 most overwhelming personalities are the 3 and the 8. So we joke at Sandals that those are the personality types that you need to have a helmet with.
Yeah, when you go into a meeting.
When you go into a meeting with a 3 and an 8. So,
sure.
Yeah.
So let's talk about more about how being a 3 actually is and what it's like and how that's impacted you. As we've started talking more about these styles, learning more about the tools, how has finding out that you're a 3, what that means, been of benefit to you? What have you learned about yourself?
Well, finding out that I was a 3 initially, it helped to, I think, put some peace and calm and some validity to the things that I've already kind of felt about myself. So
because you knew you were going to be successful?
I think knowing that 3s would rather lead than follow, seeing language like that helped kind of put some reassurance that I wasn't just always trying to go against the grain. Having vision, something that I can think about in my life ever since I was younger, just like needing to feel connected to something, but also like, what's the vision within the vision? Like if I don't see vision or feel vision, it's really easy for me to check out. And so, the hard thing for me was realizing that the lying piece is part of the 3. I would never have considered myself a liar. I think truth is super important. I also have a lot of high 1 in me, so lying is wrong. I don't lie. But I think realizing that omitting information or dressing up something to make it look better or appear not authentic is just as deceitful as an outright, let me tell you something completely different than the truth. And so I think that has been a hard thing for me to embrace, of like, where do I exaggerate? I do exaggerate things. I mean, there are times where I might tell a story and I'm like, why did I say that there were 20 people there when there were 10? There was no reason to do that. Like where does that come from? And knowing that the root of that is probably to embellish and to make something appear better than it actually is. So that's been really a hard thing and a gross place, honestly, in me to go, what does that come from? Why do I do that? How do I keep that in check? But also celebrating that I do love to accomplish things. Like I want to move the ball forward. I want to be able to help be a part of solutions. So being able to balance the two is difficult, but awesome as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I think when I took the test and started reading up, everything resonated with me. And I really appreciated what I was reading because it helped me to understand myself. And, I think there's parts of it that I struggle. I think that when I look at the explanation of the three, healthy and unhealthy, I understand it. I agree with it. But that the self-deceit part, I think, is still difficult for me too, to say, yeah, that's really something that I struggle with, that sin of omission, if you will. I think I'm still wrapping my head around it. I think it's true. I think it's just being real. I just think it's difficult for me to be honest about that. And because it feels like the sin of omission is a more okay sin. And it's not, obviously, right? And so I think that's something I'm still wrapping my head around. But man, I want to understand myself better, so ultimately I can relate to God and people better. And so the Enneagram has been awesome for me to just understand myself better.
Pastor Dan, do you have a
Well,
question?
I was just going to say is I think, again, we have to start with the three. The primary person the three lies to is themselves. And so what they're calculating in every relationship, in every situation, is what's the win. So the reason we lie is if I confront this, I might lose. I might lose status. I might lose relationship. I might lose whatever. I remember when Tammy and I were in counseling together, it was so terrifying for me to share the depths of my frustration because that's scary, because it might mean divorce. It might mean a prolonged fight. Like, right. So it's just really, really hard to be open and to be honest because I'm looking for the win. And so so what I do is I stuff. And I overlook, and and you only do that for so long, and then it comes out because the truth is going to come out. And so that's what even in relationships with my family or good friends, just not being honest because I'll just tell myself there's no point. They're not going to listen. I mean, I can talk myself out of the truth all day long, and I just have to be aware of that. So I have to really then take a step back and say, okay, yeah, this might be a loss in the win-loss column, but is God calling me to speak truth into this situation? And so we're like the one is always going to speak truth regardless of consequence because, and maybe, nuke the whole family, but they spoke the truth, and that's why they need a three to say, okay, well, let's evaluate the strategy of how we speak truth. And that's what I think Jesus is saying is when he says, be as wise as a serpent and as innocent as a dove is we don't just speak truth. We need to speak it in love and at the right time and in the right way. So, and again, also for me, the way that I lie is I'm so goal-oriented, I don't check in with my heart. And I can't tell you how, like literally, I'm in this Ironman, we're in Vegas, it's blazing hot, I'm running up this hill, and I have this epiphany, and I can't describe it to you, where I realize I don't even enjoy this. This is not fun. What have I done with the last 6 months of my life? Because I've been so focused on achieving a time, achieving status, I'm working my butt off to do something I don't even like. And that's the three. I've not checked in with myself. I've not been honest with me. I've not had some self-talk. I've not checked in with the heart issue. And that's a way of lying. You're just completely ignoring how you're feeling, what you're thinking, what's going on. And I think that's wrong for the three. And again, when Tammy and I were in counseling, the two guys just kept asking, how does it make you feel? And I was just like, stop asking me that.
Yeah.
What the heck? We're here for Tammy. What's wrong with you guys? And they knew, based upon my 99 unhealthy 3 score, they're like, this guy's living in La La Land. And, and what is LA? Land of actors, La La Land. It's completely fake. It's false. It's not real. And it's not everything you thought it would be. Yeah. And how does that make you feel? What's going on in your life when your dreams are crushed? You're not as talented. You're not good enough. Yeah. Because that's the reality for the three is you might be more talented than everybody you know, but that doesn't mean you're the most talented.
Sure, yeah.
And so we live in a world now where the wool has been pulled away. We can see on the internet, I mean, literally right before our eyes, the most talented people on earth are doing it in front of us. And it's like, oh my gosh, you're really good, but you're not that good. And that's a nightmare for the 3 to come to grips with. And it's rough.
Threes tend to struggle connecting with and articulating with their feelings. And as I read that, I'm like, yeah, man, that's me. And it's because feelings get in the way of achieving our goals. And so that was another thing, just understanding my scores and how I'm wired, that I need to be more in touch with my feelings. I mean, sometimes I'll say, my wife and I'll be having a conversation, and actually she'll be the one that says, did I hurt your feeling? It's kind of a singular thing, like I've got that one feeling, and maybe it was stepped on. And so, but that's an area I need to grow in, is just being more self-aware of how am I feeling, how am I doing, and then being able to articulate that to the people around me who love me and care for me.
Yeah, Tammy used to say, literally, you don't have feelings. She would say that to me. And that made me mad, but I didn't know why. And it's because I wasn't open or honest. And she just literally thought I was like a superhero that was impervious to hurt feelings. And it's just because I was a really unhealthy 3. I was so focused on achieving that I was missing out on feeling. And so that makes a 3 really hard to be intimate with, to connect with. Yeah. And it's really, really hard for people. So people are drawn to 3s, right? Oh my gosh, you're so amazing. And then they get close and they don't like it. Oh, yeah. I like you on stage. You're a lot better on stage than you are in person. And so we have to deal with being, and I deal with this all the time, these incredible megachurch pastors who are just phenomenal on stage, and you get with them and you're like, oh, well, they're super unhealthy 3s. It's, performing is one thing, but, being in relationship with someone is entirely different. And that's what my wife was saying. She was young. She didn't know how to say, I want to connect with you emotionally. I feel like you're emotionally unavailable. And she's right, because I'm, the illustration I use, and I don't think I use it in every service, is she actually said it was really powerful. My wife, God gives my wife, she says she's not good at story. She's trying to work on that and communicating. I think she's really good with me. She just needs to translate that gift with me to communicating to mass groups. But she said, I feel like, you're in the car that says just got married and you're blazing down the street. And she says, and I'm the cans in the back, just getting destroyed. And I just thought, God, what a picture of what a 3 does to the people that they love is, man, we're going places fast. Look at what we're doing. But we got casualties in the back. And the 3 can be really, really oblivious to the carnage that takes place for those who love them. And it's just rough. And I just thought, wow, I need to connect with that. I need to apologize for that. And really, really be aware of how people that I love are receiving me. My wife's really helped me with that, receiving real, and just learning to apologize. And I think for me as a 3, being genuine is a full-time job. So being present, the whole thing, glad handing, you know what that is, like politicians kissing baby. I mean, a 3, we can do that all day long, all day long. It doesn't exhaust us at all. And it actually energizes us, but it's not real. So sitting down, connecting, and just really, really saying, okay, here's where I'm at. That's really, really difficult. And what's so sad is most of our leaders are 3s. Yeah. Their 3s or their 8s. And so they're not real. Right. And that's why we're devastated. Like one of my pastors that I look up to, he's having multiple affairs, like not one, but like multiple. And it's just like, what is going on? Well, they're 3. They're leading the world to heaven, but personally they're in hell. And it's like, man, that's what the 3 can do, is you can be completely disconnected, be so goal oriented, but your physical goals are separate from your spiritual and your emotional goals. And what we need to do as a 3 is have spiritual and emotional goals. I'm going to feel today. I'm going to worship today. I'm going to connect.
Yeah, can I add to that real quick?
Yeah.
One of the things that's been helpful for me in connecting with my feelings is, first of all, realizing that it's not going to feel good when I start that process. And so I think if they're like, for some of those who are listening who have high 3 giftings or is to know when you start that process of asking the question, what am I feeling? It's not going to feel good initially at all. For me, how that has translated in small group, we were in small group for years together. And the conversation driving home with my husband, when I would finally share something about my personal life, the conversation would always go, what'd you think about what I shared? How was that received? What do you think people felt about that? And it was this, it felt good to have a place that was safe to share, but then the back end over processing of now what are people thinking? Am I really going to be loved and embraced if I wasn't okay in that moment? Was something that was just a huge red flag for me, like that I'm not okay. So I think for the three, they need to be able to be uncomfortable, just putting themselves in the position of being uncomfortable to feel. And it's clunky. It's clunky to start when you begin that process. But I don't know. It's just, I'm not sure if that's how to move forward. I just know for me, if anybody resonates with the constant over processing, you probably got some high three in you.
That makes me think that as a 3, when I'm asking the question to others or myself, how did I do? I'm probably in an unhealthy place.
Right.
That's what you just shared. Because I do that. I'll process to me, how did I do? How did I do on the debrief today? Or I'll ask, hey, how did it go? And to me, that's me trying to figure out how did I do relative to the image, and that's unhealthy. So it's good. It's a good question for I think 3s to think about when they're asking that question. They're probably in a place of unhealth.
Right. And so typically, 3s, when we're unhealthy, we run to the unhealthy part of the 9, which is to avoid conflict, and that's really really hard for us because conflict creates loss, and that the 3 doesn't want to lose. The 3 wants to win, and oftentimes when there is conflicts and we're sharing how we feel, or there's some ugliness, there's fallout. And, the 3 always wants the win-win-win. That's what we want. And sometimes in conflict, that's not there. And so especially in our intimate relationships with kids, our spouse, our parents, our close coworkers or friends, man, fallout is really, really, really tough. And what I've learned, if you're a 3, is fallout is inevitable. So you have to choose to do the right thing and let the Spirit of God move through the conflict. But man, I have avoided conflict and avoided confrontation and lost relationship. So, and let me tell you, as a 3, how I've lied specifically as a pastor to staff is I have withheld the whole story to try to not hurt and maintain status in relationship. And literally staff have said, I feel like you lied. And at first I wrestled with that. And then I just had to just come back and say, you're right, I did. And so what it would look like is this person's kind of going to be your boss rather than this person is your boss. So in order to try to avoid, the unhealthy 9 hurting feelings, I'm not honest. And then I've just transitioned. And ultimately what happens is that person is going to figure out the truth anyways. Yeah. And then they leave and they think I'm a liar. So it's just better to say, here's the decision I believe in, and this person's going to be your boss. I understand that that's hard. I love you and appreciate you. And then when they leave mad, but they don't leave thinking Matt's a liar. They just leave thinking, I don't agree with Matt, which is fine. That's a much better place to be as a 3. Learn to have those hard conversations. So the 2 main leadership components are the 3 and the 8. The 8 doesn't struggle with the hard conversations. The 8 struggles being gentle. The 3 is so focused on being gentle, it becomes lying. It's deceit. I'm not going to tell you everything I'm frustrated with or everything that I think needs to change, because what I need to maintain in this conversation is your image of me rather than the decision that needs to take place.
It's the omission again.
Yeah, it's the omission. And that's where I found, my leadership to really be lacking and my integrity to be called into question. And I've just had to fully commit to the truth. Like literally, if you're a 3, you just have to just anchor yourself to the truth and you say, look, I might die in this relationship, but I'm going to die with the truth. And there's not going to be any omission of coulda, woulda, just literally speak that truth. And let me just say this also, if you're a 3, if you're engaging in a real conversation, I've learned to ask, do you want me to be real? I ask for permission to speak truth. And that helps me in that way, because then sometimes people are like, no, okay.
Conversation looks different.
Yeah, the conversation looks different because people need to be ready for real, man. If you just come out and say, you want me to be real with you? Oh, well, that's usually a fight. But if you say, would you like me to share how I see this situation? Okay, here's what I see. And then just remind them, you asked for it. There you go. And so I think that's really, really helpful.
Okay, so we have a ton of questions that people have written in either about being a 3 or being in relationship with 1. Before we get into those, I want to ask one last question, just kind of about our own lives and experiences, which is, what are some steps that you've taken to kind of pursue the healthy side of being a 3 and grow in health with the knowledge that you've got from Enneagram?
Yeah, mine is easy. No secrets. There can be no secret life. So my wife knows everything I look at on the internet. That's not always awesome. We've had to have some pretty ugly conversations about some things I've clicked on. Every one of us is 1 or 2 clicks away from being stupid. So you've really, really got to monitor that. She has access to all my phone, all my appointments. I just don't do secrets. Secrets, I've learned, are very, very dangerous for me, because the unhealthy 3 in me gives me permission. Permission to indulge. And maybe that's the unhealthy 9 in me. Is just saying, well, I've done really good here, so I deserve this. And so I just have had to completely obliterate any secret life, because that's what God had to save me from. So when I go to the cross, right, Jesus says, if any man or woman would follow me, let him pick up their cross. My cross is the secret life. So I always was great at looking great. Like, I'm never going to be stupid in front of you, but I'm going to have, and that's why porn had a real hold on my life early on, because it's secret. And I've just had to literally say, I'm going to live in the light. I'm going to walk in the light as he is in the light. And when I mess up, I'm going to immediately confess, regardless of the consequence. And that's ugly, and that's hard, and that usually, right, creates a mess. But man, if you're a 3, secrets are exhausting. It is exhausting. And when you live in the light, as God's in the light, you sleep better, you live better. It's just better. Take it from someone who lived in the darkness. Trust the light and don't have secrets. And just know that, here's what I've learned. The truth, man, always comes out. Like, everybody wants to believe in conspiracies. Nobody's that talented. Nobody's that talented. Our government can't even do the right things right, much less cover up all the wrong things. The truth comes out. And when it comes out, it's bad. So just share it. It's better to just share it. And as bad as that is, it's better for you to be honest with the person you've lied to than for them to find out from someone else. Because here's the problem with them finding out from someone else. You didn't share truth. You got caught. That's rough. And that creates instability. Relationships are fragile. And the truth is the bedrock of relationships and trusting. So, man, I just got on my podium.
Good. No, that's
no
good.
Secrets. That's
Can you ask a question again?
Yeah, I'm just wondering what...
My answer confused Dan.
No. It's very profound.
What steps that you've taken that have helped you be healthy as a 3?
Yeah, I think for me, it's been reframing success. Reframing success around my life with Jesus.
Amen.
And this really goes back to when I first came to Sandals, I don't know, maybe 14 years or so ago. I remember listening to one of the first messages at Sandals, and Pastor Matt said something like, from the platform, he said something like, I've got this huge goal in my life, and it's a huge priority that my kids would grow up to know, love, serve, and worship Jesus. And in that moment, it was like the Holy Spirit like rolled over me with a dump truck, and then looked back and then backed over me again. Because my big goal, or my goals, were defined differently when I thought about success 14 years ago. Very much around money and status and all the material things. And so what I've had to learn is I had to reframe what success looked like around Jesus and around what God's word tells me success is. And that I think it's hugely important for 3s, especially for people that are very successful in the world, that you've got to really reframe it and position success as something looking very different than perhaps what you've defined it in the past. So I'd say, I continue to work on reframing. So for me, really my goals in life really revolve around being faithful to my wife till the end, number 1, and 2, the same thing, my kids knowing, loving, and serving Jesus. those are my big goals for my life. And they may not sound grand for lots of people, but for me, that's where I'm at. I've just tried to reframe success around that.
Yeah, and I think, Dan and I, we rub elbows with, very, very successful, wealthy people in our church. And I think for the three in us, sometimes it's hard because we're smarter than some of those people, and we're more talented than some of those people. And as a three, you have
not
to
the ones listening to this show.
No.
Yeah, some of them. We have to go. We have to go back. We have to go back and say, what is success? Yeah. What is success? And again, success is doing God's will in your life. Think about, I hate it when Christians say, we're not under the law. You need to read the law. It's beautiful. Be obedient to me and you will be successful in all that you do. God, it's just, the law is beautiful. And it's meant to guide us and direct us and show us what's right. That fruit in the garden, it looked good to Eve, but it didn't turn out well. So it's just the three has to constantly go back to the Lord and trust the Lord. And I think you just really have to say, okay, what do I want? My goal is not to be wealthy, not to be famous. My goal is to be married to the same woman, to love her, to be devoted to her, to love the children God gave me. Because the three probably has some suggestions for God in terms of what our kids
we have opinions on things.
Yeah, with some opinions, some strong opinions. And love the kids that God has given us and help direct them to love and serve Jesus. And not all pastors' kids love and serve Jesus. Right. Not all missionaries' kids love and serve Jesus. And you have to be as devoted as a three to your family as you are to your mission. And I believe it's your first mission. And some people get confused. And so I don't want to win the world for Christ and lose my kids.
Amen.
So.
Real quick, I would say the thing I'm working on is being present with people. I think for me, I especially when I'm in work mode or doing things at the home where I have a task I want to complete or something to do, people can actually be a big barrier, which is not helpful, especially in ministry. And so even with my husband, just trying to be very present when we're together. We kind of have this saying, be with the one you're with, be with the one you're with, without grabbing the phone, without checking the email. So just some disciplines that I'm trying to practice, even here at the church. If somebody comes over to talk to me, my laptop is usually always open, but closing that, not being distracted, or partial attention, being with that person, eye contact. And just my kids, my husband, just really valuing the person over what I'm trying to accomplish.
You're so good at that. That's why I think I was surprised when I found out you were three. You're very good. You're just probably very healthy, I guess.
Well,
You're very with. Okay, here's a question from Carrie. She says, I am 3 to the core. It's easy for me to get and stay on task and get stuff done, but I find it so hard to not place these same expectations on other people. I sometimes think my boyfriend friends can be so lazy and seem unmotivated to accomplish much of anything, and it frustrates me. How do I not place these expectations I have for myself on other people and not judge them or get frustrated when they don't see things the way I do? So I would just say dump him and get an achiever. I'm guessing that's not how you guys are going to advise it.
Here's what I believe is everybody can do a little bit better. And so, eventually I'm hoping that we'll do some church conferences, and I want to do a church growth conference. Now, not every church can grow like Sandals has, but I believe every church and every person can grow 10%. Give me 10 more percent. Find 10 more percent through efficiency, through effort, through training, through whatever. And so, my job as a 3 is to motivate people to be the best that they can be. So they might not be a 3, so motivating a 9. A 9's never going to run at my pace, but a 9 is going to be able to have some impact that I can't have. So how do I help them to run a little bit faster so that they can accomplish the optimum amount for them as a person? How do I soften the 8 so that they don't run over people and lead well? How do I get the 5 out of their head? How do I motivate the 4 to not be so emotional that they can't get out of bed in that morning, but that they just relish in the individual that they are and connect with people's heart, right? Help that 2 to serve more efficiently. Help the 1 to delegate, right? Because the 1's going to do it perfectly, which, the challenge of the 1 is they don't always lead well because they can do it better than everybody else. And so how do I get that person to just be 10% better, just a little bit better? That satisfies my need for efficiency, the 5's competent, but I like competency, to get things done. And so that's what I would do is as a 3, part of how God's wired you is to be a motivator. But you need to be a successful motivator. And so I would say for years, I was an unsuccessful motivator with my wife. Every time I was a coach, it was criticism. And so that's a me problem, right? The coach's job is to tap into the player's heart and connect with what motivates them. And so you can't blanket coach people. And so how do I encourage my wife? We didn't have the Enneagram training, so I wasn't aware of the constant negative voice of criticism in her own head. So I have to get at that negative coach and say, no, you are amazing, you are awesome, you are incredible, and encourage her to do, what she wants to do and to be everything she's been called to be. And, so my wife's a 6, so public speaking is terrifying for her. So this week I said, listen, God's given you a word, because she doesn't have confidence in herself, but she does believe in God. Mm-hmm. God's given you a word. Let these women hear this word that God's given you. So that was my encouragement. Get out of the way and let them hear what God has to say. And I heard, she didn't allow me to come. I asked.
She did great.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
Yeah,
I was not invited. So, which I understand, I can be intimidating. I mean, I'm as I become more and more real with myself, I understand how intimidating. I remember one time I visited a church, and in the middle of the dude's sentence, he said, "And Matt Brown's here on the front row." And I was like, "Oh God, I'm not sitting on the front row again." So, and I remember like when Rick Warren would come, and he sat on the front row, and I was like, ugh. Yeah. So what I would say is, don't deny what God has made you to be. As a 3, you're a motivator, you're an encourager, you want to see people succeed and you want people to be successful. And I think, just know this, people follow 3s. Mm-hmm. They do. Everybody wants to be the best most healthy people want to be the best they can be. Motivate those people. And as a 3, let the people that don't want to be motivated, it's why I can't do homeless ministry. I cannot do it. Maybe 2s can do it. I can't do it. I can't look at the same person every single week and be like, you can do it. You can. And 6 years later, I'm serving you a meal. That's not me. I want to find that person that wants to change, that wants to be different, that wants to get out of their situation. So find those people, because as a 3, those are the people that fuel you. Those are the people, man. They're gonna make you just get excited. That's what motivates me. Life change. My favorite part is hugging people in the lobby who say, "This church has changed my life. This church has saved my marriage. This church has done this. This church is," how God has used Sandals Church. And, there's always people, well, it's all God. Yeah, but he used us. Mm-hmm. So that's what motivates me. How is God using us? So I would say, read your question again.
I actually think you totally cared. Okay. You landed it. That was great. That was super helpful.
Did you say I cared?
You cared for her.
Okay.
I think you cared for this lady.
Did you feel like you were caring as you were answering?
Not now. Now you guys are criticizing me.
Also, her name was Carrie, so maybe my brain.
Yeah, Carrie, I love you. We got to hang out.
I was getting confused.
Could I add one thing?
Let's go change the world together.
Yeah, do it.
I think another thing, just off of that question, is the role that honor plays in each other's giftings. And I know sometimes as a high 3, I always have an opinion about something, and I have no shortage of ideas from wanting to kind of communicate my opinion. But the need to create space for others to maybe talk first, not always be the one to insert right away. I think honoring each other's giftings helps put me in my place. Yeah. I don't always have the best next suggestion. I know that, especially with the people that I work with. There's so much talent and gifting in one another. And so really creating space for others to have their moment. My husband is a high 9, and even in conversations, I have to allow there to be space for him to process, because I'm right there, ready to move on to the next thing. And that doesn't help him feel safe. Mm-hmm. But honoring what he has to say, his contribution to the table, I think plays a huge role in us, I think, not putting such high value on who we are and valuing others.
Right. That's great.
Okay, so we have a whole pile of questions. that are people saying, help, I'm married to a 3 or something along those lines.
Yeah, that's on you.
Thank you.
Let's see if we can help these people out. Kate says, as someone who's married to a 3 and has suffered considerably as a result of their lies and deceit, how can I love them and celebrate them and their successes when I've been hurt by their actions and I'm unsure of the future of our relationship?
Yeah, well, the future of your relationship, unfortunately, is in their hands. So you can't change a person who doesn't want to change. So the 3 is going to have to come to grips. The 3 in your life is going to have to come to grips with how their lies just devastate people. And some people, man, we've had some 3s on staff here that, still they're not a part of our church because I'm just not convinced that they fully grappled with how dishonest they can be. And, and they have to really come to grips with that lies devastate, lies hurt. Satan is the father of lies. And so a really unhealthy 3 is not following Jesus. We're following the devil. So they've got to come to grips with that. And so what I would do is I would just beg them to be real and to change and to embrace the truth. Pathological lying is difficult. I have met people we've had them on staff. They if you put a gun to their head, they couldn't tell the truth. They lie about things they don't need to lie about. I mean, they lie all the time. A super unhealthy 3 doesn't even know what the truth is. That's scary. I had to tell my parents a couple years ago. I just said, I'm not sure if that story's true or not. I had told it so often, as a kid. Right? You start believing the lies. And I just said, asterisk, I'm not sure that happened, because I don't remember. I don't remember what the truth is because I've been selling this story. And that's a little awkward, when you're like, yeah, I don't know that happened. But again, as a 3, run to the truth, run to the truth, run to the truth. So her question was, I've been hurt so often. And so what you need to pray for is health. And for them to really get in touch with their feelings and their heart, that 3 in your life has adapted. And the lie they're believing is people are impressed with how I look. And the truth is that's a lie. People are impressed with who you are. And that's the core lie of the 3 is if I just wrap myself in this, people are going to love me. And no, the truth is we do love you. I mean, people love 3s. We're drawn to 3s. We're inspired by 3s. 3s challenge us and change us. And so try to really help that 3 get at the core shame, because the shame is the motivator for lying. If you knew the truth, you wouldn't love me, you wouldn't stay with me. And what's so sad is this 3 is missing that their lies are actually making things worse. Mm-hmm. It doesn't make it better. If you're a 3 and you're lying to the people that love you, it's not real. Yeah. It's not real. And love, first and foremost, demands reality. It just does. And so the 3 has to embrace that, right? Love rejoices when the truth wins out. It might be painful, but love is celebrating truth, not lies. And so my heart goes out to you. Just know that as bad as this 3 is hurting you, they're hurting themselves more. And try to be compassionate towards them, but you're going to have to draw some really, really firm lines and hold to those. And sometimes the only way 3s learn is a brick wall. So I'll be praying for you. I am so sorry. And what's so tragic here is this 3 in your life was made to be used by God for glory. Mm-hmm. And instead, they've been pummeled by lies. And, their life is never going to be what it's been called to be. But you just have to get to that shame component. What is it in their life that they think is so ugly that they have to cover? Mm-hmm. And if you can get them to expose that and say, here's what happened. And so, just working through my wife and I, my wife knows my darkest, deepest secrets. And she knows the things about me that I'm ashamed of. And she loves me. Mm-hmm. She loves me. My wife and I sometimes will talk about things that only we know about each other. Only we know. Mm-hmm. And at the core of our relationship, it's grace that unlocks intimacy. Yeah. Here's what you know about me, and you love me anyways. And there's beauty in confession. And again, we don't tell everybody everything, but man, if you're married, that's where you need to share it all. because what we all want, and I think the 3 wants intimacy. We want connection. We're just not good at it.
Yeah.
So, you have to trust that process. And, so if you're a 1 and you're married to a 3, you're really, really going to have to work on grace because the 3 is terrified of you. So just know that you're really, really going to have to not resort to anger, your core sin, and really, really embrace, right? Because you got to save your shoulds. You got to save them.
Yeah, I would say that trust is the foundation for all relationships, and it sounds like trust has been broken. And so, what I would say to what's the person's name?
Kate,
is that there needs to be a path forward towards reconciliation. And that would be the work and the prayer is how do I have reconciliation with, is it our husband? Is that what you're saying? How, God help us to reconcile, restore, and maybe even rebirth a new marriage. And so seek help through counseling, seek help through soul care here at the church. But there has to be a path forward to reconciliation.
Yeah. And Kate, be willing to look at yourself, right? It's not just this 3 who's broken. You for whatever reason have been drawn to this person. Maybe you're codependent. Maybe there's some unhealth in you. It's in all of us, and it's like the big joke. Tammy and I went away to counseling to help her. Well, I was a mess. Yeah. I was a total and absolute mess because I was blind to my own issues, and we all are. It's why Jesus says, "First, take the log out of your eye, so you can help your brother with the speck that's in their eye." So if we want to be of use to the people that we love, we have to be willing to do self-work and do self-growth. And so what are the things that I'm doing that make it easier for this person to lie rather than to embrace the truth? And so that's why, I picked on the 1 a little bit. I've really got to have a big box for grace, a big box for grace, because if your spouse is a 3, they are not perfect. They are the opposite of that. And so you just really, really need to, and 3s can really hurt you because we're drawn to 3s because of their potential. Oh my gosh, this person, and then there's reality. And if it's like this and they're unhealthy, it's ugly. It's not beautiful. It is gross ugliness, and it wounds and it hurts not only you, Kate, but this person. It's hurting themselves. And it's just tragic. But, and let me just say this to all of the personality types. It's easy to be broken. That's why the world is broken. It's easy. We don't have to work at sin. It just happens. We have to work at health. We have to work at righteousness. We have to work at doing good. Like if you're raising your kids, it's easy to not study. It's easy to want to sleep in. It's easy to not do the things you need to do to exist and support yourself. That's why, and our culture is not honest about that. That's why, poverty's growing. All of these problems are growing in our society because nobody's honest. It's hard work to do good. It is. We're not naturally drawn to it. We're naturally drawn to the things that we shouldn't do. And we've forgotten, those old stories and those old tales about pursuing that which is good. The Bible verse, do not grow weary in doing good, for in due season you will reap if you don't give up. Well, why would that verse be there? Because sometimes we're just we keep doing good, and it's like, what's the point? Look at all these idiots. They're doing what they want to do. Well, don't give up, because those idiots are going to a place you don't want to go. So.
Don't you think that the 3s operate more in the gray versus maybe 1s operate more in the black and white? And, for me, so many times, I don't care how we get the ball in the end zone. Yeah. I just want to make sure we get the ball in the end zone.
Right. If you're not cheating, you're not trying hard enough.
Yeah. If I'm working with a 1, they want to talk about how we're going to get there and getting there the right way. And I'm like, I don't care how we get there. Are we going to get the ball in the end zone? We are. Okay, good. I'm moving on to the next thing, And so, but that's part of us working together, empathizing with one another, that we're just wired differently. But I know for me, I operate a lot in the gray area. And not so much in the black and white. It has to be done this exact way.
And it's okay to be in the gray, but it's not okay to be dishonest.
Right. Yep.
So that's what we have to notice. So if you're a 1, the beauty of the 3 in your life is they're going to help you understand, like, look, it's okay. The gray is not scary. It's okay. We can be over here because there's not a black and white for everything. If you're a 1, you believe that there's not. It's not always this or that. Yeah. there's just difficulties and there are nuances in life where the 3 helps us be there. The problem is the 3 can live in the gray and make excuses and actually be in a lie.
That's right. Yeah.
So,
but it's why I embrace working with ones. But I need them to help me. I really do. And I've come to embrace ones even more.
Yeah.
Okay, here's an anonymous question. She says, my husband scored as a strong 3. As a wife of 3, I sometimes feel like a burden as though I'm getting in the way of him accomplishing his goals. He goes 100 miles an hour, and the kids and I are in the minivan struggling to keep up at 65 miles an hour. How do I encourage...
Is this my wife? Did she send this question?
How do I... You don't have a minivan anymore, dude.
Yeah. We had multiple minivans.
I'm jealous of your life.
Which, by the way, hurt my image.
Yeah.
Hey, I have a gold minivan that I drive. What are you saying?
That's true.
It's hurting your image.
Yes.
I don't... Yeah, my kids are a little anywhere.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Just step up from the Saturn.
I have health in that area. I really am not concerned about it.
How do I encourage
it's
my
called
3?
wisdom.
Yeah, that's right. How do I encourage my 3 to slow down or even just rest?
Yeah.
You have to demand it. So you have to demand it. I know with Dan, we've had to really work on vacation and stopping. And so part of the problem, especially when you love what you do and you enjoy what you do and you feel like you're working for God, you have to remind ourselves that God, when he created the heavens and the earth for 6 days, right? Everything he did was good. He still stopped and rested. And so we have to do that. And the way you challenge your 3 is they'll be more successful if they can stop and rest. And again, what is success? Success is the family in the minivan coming alongside and being a part. And so, my favorite part of watching a president get elected, it just is, and I just love it, is when they celebrate and their family comes up and there's crying and there's hugging and they're all a part of that. And so for me, I don't want to do this on my own. I want to be a part of that. Tammy and I, we went to DC 2 weeks ago, and again, we had to talk about what are the things that we want to do. And my wife's a 6, and so she's afraid we're going to miss out. I'm a 3. We have to do everything. So we talked about that. And one of the things she really wanted to see was the dresses of every president's wife at their inaugural ball. I never would have even thought about that.
I didn't. Well, they have a collection.
Yeah, that's a thing.
What convicted me is behind all of these men have been incredibly great women who've done amazing things and contributed powerfully. And the one who gets no notoriety because she went a little nuts at the end, but it's Abraham Lincoln's wife, and how she really challenged him and the way that she helped him navigate probably the most difficult time in our nation's history when we actually fought a war because we couldn't agree. And it was really amazing. And so I think that America has not always treated women well, but I like the fact that in the Smithsonian they get it. That it took a family to get there. And I want to make sure that at the end, it's my wife and I in a rocking chair in our Depends talking about what God did. Amen. And I don't, my prayer is that there's not another gal there next to me, that it's her. And, when I'm old, I won't be able to control my bladder, but I'll be able to control my story, of what God did. And so it's just knowing, it's helping your 3 to understand that success is family. Success is God. Like, those things are successful. The 3 has to be challenged on their definition of success. It's not another $1 million in the bank or another restaurant or another car or another house. 3s get so caught up in stuff. And, for me, my goal is to give $1 million to this church. That's my financial goal. A lot of people have a goal of making $1 million. I want to give $1 million to this church. And Tammy and I, we've given about $300,000 to this church. Now we've been here 20 years. So that's where that money's come from.
You better pick up the pace, buddy.
I know. Well, I need to make more money. So, but the goal of making more money is not for myself, but it's to give to the church. And so, and my wife has joined me in that. We're getting ready this next year to probably do a giving campaign again as a church. And I've already been telling my wife, what do you want to do? Because I need her to be a part of that. Because my 3, right, jumps out there. And so I got to bring her along. And I want her to celebrate in the struggle with me. The reality is we're just different. I used to pressure my wife to do an Ironman. That's stupid. It's stupid. My My wife's job is to celebrate me while I do them. That's what she does. She's a great cheerleader. She's alongside. She makes sure that, if I vomited and diarrhea all over myself at the end, that I can be cleaned up.
That she could find someone to help you get cleaned up.
Well, yeah. Actually, you know what? She didn't. Bob Stockton, actually.
There you go. See?
Yeah, there's a guy in our church, man, who got in the shower with me to help get the vomit off my back.
Right.
Oh, that's a friend.
Right. That is a friend.
My wife was like, yeah.
She's like, I'm out.
You and Bob are in the shower. So I step out of the shower, and Bob goes, you need to get back in. And I'm like, why? He's like, there's puke on your back. I'm like, how do I get my own vomit on my back? Well, that's how a 3 pukes very successfully. So just know that, part of the 3 is not getting everybody to do what you do. It's allowing your success and your drive. Just let it be you. That's how God's wired you. And all of the personality types, the sin is thinking everybody should be the same way. If you're a 9, it's a sin for, everybody to think that you need to meditate and hang out. Right. That's not what's going to happen. So we've got to connect. And so, Tammy and I, like on vacations, she knows I can sit in the beach chair for so long and I'm going to give you everything I have. I cannot do it all day. I cannot sit in that chair and read Us magazine all day. I don't care what the Kardashians are doing. I could care less. So we need to be playful. We need to do something. We're going to be in the water together. But the best places for us is somewhere where I can go surf until my arms fall off. We come in, we go eat together, and then we hang out to each other because I'm physically exhausted. And we sit there, but I can't take as much sun as she can. She can take, I'm like, I'm done. So that girl she can sit there all day. So it's just literally understanding that people are different from you. And part of being a successful 3 is understanding how your spouse is wired, how your kids are wired, and helping them to be the best they can be within whom they are. And a 3 is just, it's just different. I don't know what you guys are going to do tomorrow. I'm going to be running a half marathon. That's what I'm doing before I come to work.
Yeah.
That's not normal. And I need to understand that. That's not normal. That's a little weird. Right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
For Annie Moss here, I was just going to say, I'm a 3. I've got a wife and I have 4 kids in the minivan. So take that, your husband. I think you're in the best position of anybody to really, really help him slow down and encourage. I was thinking, if I were to do an inventory of my relationships, I don't know how you guys feel. I don't feel like I have any relationship where I just feel like, oh yeah, that person's totally satisfied with me, who I am right now and as I am. So even in my relationships with my family, with my kids, I never feel like we've done enough or accomplished those things. So when Lindy encourages me, when she points out things to be thankful for, the small little things, and helps me see and notice and shows me that she's happy and satisfied with just me, with just our family as it is right now, it's really, really helpful for the breathing thing. And there's nobody else who can do that in this particular context. So there's a lot of, I feel your burden coming through this question, but I also feel like you have a really incredible opportunity.
Yeah, you just have to learn to, at the end of the sermon, we talked about how to love a 3. You have to be real with them. I think about, actually, this person doesn't think they're a 3. They think they're a 1. I think they're wrong. I think they're a 3, and they're a very unhealthy 3. And their drive for achievement literally comes first in everything and all things. And, their family's the cans. And it's just literally bing, 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 bing. And this person is clueless and just missing it, just absolutely missing it. And, 3s need people that love them to speak truth into their life and say, I've been, sorry guys, I've been to counseling a lot in my life, but Tammy and I, we used to go to this counselor and she would just ask me, and just so you guys know, I like to choose a female counselor because I understand dudes pretty well. I am not really good with the feminine species. So I try to choose a female counselor so that they can catch what I'm missing. And that's been very helpful for me. So not that male counselors aren't great. Love you guys. I just think it's really, really important. Oftentimes, especially if you're struggling in a relationship with women, to get a female counselor. So I just remember she would just ask me, what are you willing to pay? What are you willing to pay? And this is before I knew I was a 3. It's before I knew the Enneagram. And she would just tell me there's a cost to what you want. There's a cost. Are you willing to pay that cost? Are you willing to pay that cost? And what she was getting at is, if I continued on my pace, I was going to lose my family. I was going to lose my kids. And I don't want to lose those things. I don't want that to happen. And so what I've had to do is adjust my pace so that my wife can run with me and my kids can run alongside me. I have to adjust and let my nuttiness be things that only I do. So, the Ironman thing, I think I'm hoping that we're wrapping that up. But, just other things, I need to work out every day. I don't need everybody else to do that. No matter where we go, no matter what we're doing, I'm going to be at the gym every day. Mm-hmm. I don't need to be Captain Judgy and judge everybody else who doesn't do that. So my wife loves yoga. So if I want to connect with her, I'm going to go do that, which it's fun.
Justin, what I would say is, again, to this wife, helping her husband to reframe success, because he sounds like he's really struggling with the right idea of success. And so if she can help him to even write that down, like, what is success in your life? What does success look like from a legacy standpoint? And then help him to understand if how he's living his life aligns with that. And if it doesn't, maybe he could see that, oh man, I'm putting all my time and energy into work and very little to no time and energy into my family. That doesn't align with my goals of loving my family, leading them to Jesus, et cetera. And so helping them to craft out what does success look like, and then see if they're living their life in a way that's aligned with that, I think is really huge. I had a huge aha moment going back to August. I'll tell a quick story. Lori and I have been married for about 17 plus years. And for 16 and a half years, she would tell me when I got home from work that you're not present. You're not present. You're not here. She'd tell me, you need to engage. You're here, but you're not here. I need you engaging with family. I need you doing things. And I really dismissed that for a long time. For about 16 and a half years. And then we started having some really difficult things happening at home in August. And I realized, like, the light bulb went off, like, I'm the only person that can jump in and really help support, serve, and care for and lead my family in this unique way. And I realized that going back all these years, she's been telling me, you're not engaged, you're not present. She even wrote on a chalkboard on the wall that love is being present in the moment. And she put it up on the wall when I sat down in my brown leather Lazy Boy that she's hated for, 10 years, that she's wanted to burn. She'd put this chalkboard up on the wall in the living room right across from where my Lazy Boy sat. And I still didn't get it. I still didn't get that and it was because as a 3, man, I'm working so hard. I'm achieving, when I walk in the door, I'm going to bring in all the dragons I've slayed for the day to demonstrate what I've done. And so I justified not being present. I justified not being engaged with my family until I realized, going back to August, man, I have to be present for my family's health and well-being. And it really took that moment for me to understand, man, I've got to be present. I've got to be engaged. And I need to redefine, again, reframing success. Success was being the best dad that I can be, even more than being the best boss or manager and leader that I could be at work. So if she can help her husband, again, reframe what is success for you, and then try to help him align, is his life, what he's doing, is it in line with that definition?
Yeah. Man, that's good. I think that as 3s, we're so future-oriented, we just wrestle being present. And my whole life I've been that way. I'm like, I'm running out of time. I mean, now I'm 46 years old. I'm halfway done. I mean, I'm literally like, man, it's almost a wrap. I'm like, I'm almost done. I gotta accomplish all these things. And so I'm just not present. And so really working on being present with my wife, with my kids, trying to connect with them, the way that they want to connect individually. And I just think that that's so important, and not being tired. So part of the 3 is, the big reason I want to be done with Ironmans is I think that I'm so tired I'm not present. Yeah. And so it affects me. Yeah. I just don't have the physical energy to be with them, and that's a negative thing. Oh man, I was going to say something that was so good.
I think one thing that I have found helpful with Dan in our marriage too is to let him in on what's going on in my head, kind of the next step down the road. Because I find myself, I know why I'm doing what I'm doing right now, because it's going to lead to the next thing that I need to do, the next thing to do, which the end result is going to be, ta-da. And I can often leave him behind. And so even talking about, hey, I'm doing this because this is the next step and this is the next step, like in tandem with each other, like, is that the pace that you want to go? Or can we go that way together? Just because in marriage, the partnership aspect is so important. And if one of us is leaving anybody behind, it's not healthy in any way, shape, or form. So we even just had a conversation the other day. He was like, if you had just told me kind of what you were thinking and where you were going, I'm on board, totally fine. But you left me out. You left without bringing me with you in that moment, which again goes back to the being present, honoring each other. And the rest component, I think too, I mean, I can't speak high enough about how important that is and how hard it is. Yeah. We were on our 25th wedding anniversary in August, and I promised him that thank you, but that we wouldn't bring work. I would not check my phone a bunch, and I would sneak it. I would totally, he would like go in another room or whatever, and I would grab my phone. I mean, and then I would close it real quick, and I'd put,
Christina the liar.
There we go.
Christina the liar.
At the core, it was like, we're on this beautiful beach, 25 years of celebrating. What else am I craving other than this moment? That this moment isn't satisfying. What is wrong in me that I can't just be okay with this? And it wrecked me because it was bigger than I need to check my email.
Yeah, I think the cell phone may be the greatest enemy of Sabbath in the history of the world. You know, one of the things that Tammy and I were talking about is I used to be so much better at resting and disconnecting, and we really looked at when that changed, and it's when cell phones came in. Because we used to go on vacation, and we would go to Big Sur, and we'd be down in a canyon. You'd have to walk to a payphone or to get a newspaper. And we would do that for 2 weeks, and we were
What's a newspaper?
Yeah, we were just completely lost.
So, what's a payphone?
Yeah. So, man, we need that. We need to completely disengage and disconnect, and we just don't do that.
Real quick, I think we tend to normalize our unhealth. We normalize and we justify our unhealth, and so just going back to this person that's asking the question about her husband. You know, he's normalized working too much, working too hard, leaving the family behind, and he's probably justified it because I'm a provider, I'm doing these great things, whatever. And that's why the Enneagram is so powerful. That's why the series is so powerful, because it can help us no longer normalize the things that are unhealthy in our life. And that's where breakthrough lives. You know, when we start to say, hey, this is unhealthy, and I've always sort of just assumed this was okay, I need to break this cycle. I need to start becoming more healthy. The Enneagram is really helping us uncover what is that unhealth and no longer normalize it.
Yeah, so all of the personality styles struggle with narcissism when they're unhealthy. The 3 exceptionally struggles. I mean, it's a real battle. And so for the 3, narcissism shows up in what we do. Yeah. It's really an unhealthy love of self. Yeah. And a sinful love of self. And so I'm going to put my needs for success over everyone else. And that's really, really ugly. And it's really wounding to the people that need you.
I hope some of you guys have been watching this on YouTube. I love the irony of you talking about the sinful love of self wearing your hashtag Matt Brown was right t-shirt. You literally said this, a sinful love of self, and you tapped the slogan on your shirt, man. Yeah. That is
just for those of you who are watching, I did not buy this shirt for myself, but someone who I said, I am right, and one day when you are wrong, you're going to buy me a shirt that says hashtag Matt Brown was right, and that person had to buy me this shirt.
That's awesome. Well, hey, Pastor Dan, Christina, thank you for being on the show. That was awesome.
Thanks for having us.
You guys were
appreciate
great.
you guys.
You got it.
How do we do? Oh, just kidding.
Yeah, that's great. Dan did great.
That is awesome. Hey, we're gonna before we let you guys go. Well, you can leave now, but I would suggest you don't, because our friend Matt Ritchie has put together an awesome song. He's been doing this for the whole series to encourage and challenge the 3s. So
is it called Liar Liar?
Enjoy this from Matt Ritchie, and we'll see you back here next weekend with the 4s. Get ready for your feelings.
A glass that's stained a light to shine. You can see the art, but not the heart inside. a sleight of hand to slight the eye. 'Cause you can't follow what you can't find. Oh, will it be enough for me? Oh, enough for you to value me? Oh, will it be enough to see what you see in me? I'm worth the price, I'm worth the cost, proven by an empty tomb and bloody cross, truly seen and fully loved for who I am, not what I've done. A yarn to spin, a tale to tell. If all I do is win, maybe then I'll never fail. Oh, but will it be enough for me? Oh, enough for you to value me? Oh, will it be enough to see what you see in me? I'm worth the price, I'm worth the cost, proven by an empty tomb and bloody cross, truly seen and fully loved for who I am, not what I've done. I'm worth the price, I'm worth the cost, proven by an empty tomb and bloody cross, truly seen and fully loved for who I am, not what I've done. But will it be enough for me? Enough for you to value me? Will it be enough to see what you see in me? I'm worth the price, I'm worth the cost, proven by an empty tomb and bloody cross, truly seen and fully loved for who I am, not what I've done. Worth the price, I'm worth the cost, proven by an empty tomb and bloody cross, truly seen and fully loved for who I am, not what I've done. Who I am, not what I've done. Who I am, not what I've done. Truly seen and fully loved for who I am, not what I've done.